So this is going to be another one of those devastating stories that comes at the expense of a young black child losing their life, and in a very tragic and brutal way at the hands of an older individual from another community, a community that they keep trying to mesh with us, that quote unquote black and brown coalition. So in this video, I'm going to cover two articles. One is going to talk about this boy. The other one's going to talk about the one who hit him. And then there's going to be another one that, well, it's not an article, but something that was brought to my attention with various screenshots and how we know that this black and brown coalition thing still ain't working. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead now and read this article coming from People that says driver charged with DWI and murder allegedly smirked as he ran over a boy who was 6 years old multiple times. It says authorities have arrested an alleged drunk driver accused of fatally running over a child multiple times in a Texas parking lot. According to a Houston Police Department news release, 52-year-old Pedro Alberto Hernandez has been charged with murder and driving while intoxicated in connection with the death of a 6-year-old boy. Speaking with KTRK TV, family members identified the boy as Darien Lewis. Authorities say that on Saturday, Hernandez was driving his pickup truck through a shopping center parking lot when he struck Darien with his vehicle. Darien was pronounced dead at the scene, and Hernandez, determined by responding officers to allegedly be intoxicated, was taken into custody. According to KTRK, Darien, who had autism, was with his grandfather at the time of the incident. The pair were reportedly out walking to get a snack after dinner when the boy was hit. I got on the ground and I held him, Darien's grandfather, Dana Hubbard, told the outlet. I felt his pulse and said, "We have a pulse." Someone called 911 to give my grandson some help. To take his last breath and him letting go of my hand, it hurts a whole lot, Hubbard said. Hubbard says the driver intentionally ran over Darien's body 3 times with a smirk on his face. He stopped, he backed up and drove over my grandson again and stopped his truck on his head, Hubbard recalled. Citing police, KTRK reports Hernandez admitted to consuming 4 beers before getting behind the wheel. According to KHOU-TV, citing court documents, Hernandez has been charged with multiple DWI offenses in the past, though it was not immediately clear how those cases were adjudicated. Same here. This was his 4th, at least, DWI arrest. Sean Terr with the Harris County Vehicular Crimes Division told the outlet. Of Hernandez's previous charges of driving while intoxicated, the grieving grandfather says they let him get away. The buck has to stop somewhere. Someone has to be held accountable for their actions, Hubbard said. No more slaps on the wrist. Hernandez is being held on a $950,000 bond. It's unclear if he entered a plea to the charges, and online records do not reflect an attorney authorized to comment on his behalf. Hernandez is due back in court on January 10th. That's crazy considering, you know how long that's, that's what, 3 months away? They need to have him in court now, honestly, and make sure that he is there. $950,000. I always tell people that there's certain crimes that are committed that do not warrant a bond. This guy should have no bond. Granted, he probably don't have the money, but still. But that's wild. This guy ran over this boy 3 times. And they said on the 3rd time, he literally sat on his head with the vehicle. This was more than just some beers. Because I know when you hear people who are driving with DWIs or DUIs, usually if they crash, that's it. That's just that one crash. But this guy ran over this boy and continued to run over him 2 more times. Not just 1 time, but 2 more times. So there was in my opinion, some level of coherence there where he knew what he was doing. And they said he had a smirk on his face, like a little smile, like he enjoyed it. So he knew he had hit something. At least he knew he hit somebody, and he enjoyed it because he kept doing it and he had a smile on his face. But let me transition over to the other article that kind of talks about him. So this is the article about Pedro Alberto Hernandez, and that's his picture right there. Now, this article says Texas driver drunkenly ran over the 6-year-old boy 3 times, smirked before trying to flee. Let's see what they're talking about in here. A Texas man is accused of running over a young boy in the parking lot as the child's grandfather yelled at him. Defendant Pedro Alberto Hernandez, age 52, ran over the victim 2 more times and smirked before trying to flee. Cops in Houston announced on Monday that Hernandez is charged with murder and driving while intoxicated, which is his 3rd offense, in the 351st State District Court. Police only identified the victim as a 6-year-old boy pending verification, so this lets me know that this article actually came before the one I just read. Pending verification of the Harris County Institute of Forensic Sciences. Court documents named the child by his initials, LD. Well, actually, it would be more like DL because his name is Darien. The fatal crash and alleged murder happened at 11231 Bissonnet Street on Saturday. Hernandez was driving a white Chevrolet Tahoe. Just before 7 p.m. on October 1st, 2022, defendant drove his SUV into the parking lot of a washateria located in the 9600 block of Leawood Boulevard in Houston, where he struck a 6-year-old child, identified as a boy, who was walking across the parking lot with his grandfather. Prosecutors wrote in a motion seeking $1 million bail. Of course, we all know that it was only $950,000. The boy had run went ahead when walking in the parking lot. Instead of stopping when he struck the child, Hernandez did it again and again, even as the boy's grandfather yelled. The grandfather yelled at the defendant, who stopped and then backed up and ran over the child again, causing one of the tires to stop and rest on the child's face. The grandfather yelled at the defendant again, and he drove forward and ran over the child a 3rd and final time. When the grandfather yelled again at the defendant, ran over his grandchild, defendant smirked at him and attempted to drive away. The grandfather, however, pulled Hernandez out of the SUV and pinned him to the hood until other witnesses arrived and took Hernandez to the ground, and they held him for cops. Well, at least the grandfather did get some hands on him, but I'm telling you something else. His face would have been under that tire. Paramedics pronounced the child deceased at the scene, police said. Officers questioned Hernandez, determined him to be intoxicated, and took him into custody. He was subsequently charged with 2 felonies in the crash. Hernandez allegedly admitted to drinking 4 16-ounce beers while in his SUV parked at his workplace before driving to the washateria. He was going to meet someone who owed him money, he allegedly said. Well, that's not going to happen. Defendant said that his wife had offered to come pick him up, but he told her that he could still drive. He claimed that he did not see anyone walking in the parking lot at the time he struck the child. That's impossible. Then why did you back up and run over what you claim to not have seen 3 times? This guy's lying through his teeth. Citing his prior DWI cases, prosecutors want him behind bars. Defendant has demonstrated repeated apathy towards admonishments and orders from judges and continues to drive after drinking. Court documents stated the fact that the defendant is currently being supervised by the state for felony DWI from March 2020 and still chooses to drink and drive and put the citizens of Harris County and other Texas counties at risk of death is a strong indicator that defendant does not care to follow any orders and will continue to do as he chooses to do unless he remains in custody. And I put that at the fault of the lawmakers down there, because they know that this guy has a repeated history of doing this, but they keep letting him go. That's why I've been saying in other videos, when it comes to these repeat offenders, they going to keep on letting them do this stuff, and then someone's going to end up dying from it. And then that's when they want to get real serious and really crack down on it. And now a 6-year-old boy is dead because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. Remember the video I just did about that guy I called the Bronx Violator, how he had a history of doing that. And when he got out, he went and did it to like 5 more people. That's because they didn't do what they were supposed to do. So a lot of the times it comes down to these lawmakers and their lackluster service to the community. It says there are no adequate bond conditions to prevent him from doing this again. Records show a public defender represents Hernandez. Law and Crime left a phone message seeking comment from the office after hours. And that's the end of that article. But yeah, repeat offender. It's just that this time he took somebody out. And for him to say that he was unaware that he had hit anybody or didn't see anybody, we're not buying that. And see, that's angle that they're going to try to go and lean on, but that's still not going to qualify, because at the end of the day, he's a repeat DWI offender, and this time it cost someone their life. And this guy ran over this boy 3 times, and on the second time he rested the vehicle on his face, and that second time is probably what killed him. And I want to know, how fast was he driving? Because they said it was in a parking lot. You know, you shouldn't be driving fast in a parking lot anyway. You should be driving at a relatively low speed, because they're real tight areas. You got people walking, you got parked cars, you got moving cars. So he had been driving pretty fast, and he had to have known he had hit something. Because like I said earlier, even if you are intoxicated and you hit something, it's only going to take one hit. This guy literally hit this boy, backed up, drove over him, drove forward, and rode over him again a third time while smiling. That tells me he knew exactly what he was doing, and he had a good time doing it too. I hope wherever he goes, he gets the brunt force of whatever it is that he deserves. Now, this is why I wanted to come and show you these extra little screenshots that I saw when people were starting to share this story. Now, this story everybody's familiar with for the most part, especially if you live out in LA, where it says Latino gang members firebomb black residents to drive them out of Boyle Heights projects, prosecutors allege. I believe this was posted back in 2016. Now, I don't think I was doing videos at this time, but I don't remember talking about this story right here. This is just some things I wanted to show you when it comes to this so-called black and brown quote unquote coalition that's going on, what that we know is a farce that I've talked about on my channel so many times. So I'm actually just kind of breeze through this one because we already are aware of this one. But look at this. This is a tweet. This says, and it was posted August 22nd, 2022. So this is recent. It says, us Hispanics are going to eventually take over the country as we become the majority, and we have to seriously put these people in their place. We know exactly who they're talking about. A lot of them line up or align themselves with PC and Dub S. Let's keep it moving. Look at this one by this Miguel Antonio Zapata Gonzalez. And they're replying to Caden Next Door and Mike Baggs. I'm actually familiar with Mike Baggs because we follow each other on Twitter. They said, that's right, Negroes. You're finally starting to understand. When Hispanics become the majority, we will finish what the white man didn't. It's finna be a purge. Now, people can try to play the game of saying, oh, this is a troll account or whatever. But these are words that many of them feel. And let's keep in mind the video that I did on the quote unquote American Cholo podcast or whatever they call themselves out in LA a couple months ago, when they were talking real greasy about black people, specifically black Americans, when it came to the topic of reparations. Now, look at what this guy put right here. And let's not also forget that Blue, whoever, Swifty Blue, that other one out there that said that he wasn't signed to a black record label when he was signed to a Mexican. Listen, ain't nobody checking for him. The Mexicans probably were not even checking for him either. But look at what he says right here. He said, that's right, Negroes. Now, I don't think I've ever seen a Mexican person actually say the word Negroes. I'm not opposed to them. Well, let me put it this way. I'm not shocked if they have. But I've never actually seen one or heard one actually say that. So when I saw this, it kind of caught me like a little off guard. But he says, you're finally starting to understand. When Hispanics become the majority, we will finish what the white man didn't. This part right here, we will finish what the white man didn't, let you know who they align with. And it's not us. That's why it kills me when you got these Democrats out here trying to kiss their ass and they would never align with them. And I'm talking about the black Democrats. They will never align with them. Let's see what this last one's talking about. Now, check this out. Now, this is a little historical piece. It says, let the Negro fight his own battles. His problems are not mine. I don't want to ally with him. By Felix T. Arena, Mexican-American president of the LULAC from 1956 to 1960. But this is who they want to shoehorn us in with. This is what, unfortunately, blindly, some of our people want to align themselves with. And the history is all right there. But some people gonna have to just fall flat on their face and learn the hard way, unfortunately. But yeah, that black and brown thing does not exist. It never has, and it never will be. I think it's pretty obvious right now that when you think about this tweet right here, what many of them want to happen. Not saying that it can't, but this is right now, this is a fantasy, at least of his. And those who think like him, this is a fantasy of theirs. Then you got to think about the whole discussion of who created hip hop and how they tried to shoehorn their way into that. It's a lot going on. It's a whole lot going on. If they wanted to throw us back into slavery and they could be the overseer, if they could be massa, this tweet right here shows me without the shadow of a doubt, they most definitely would. Y'all let me know what y'all think about this down in the comments. Before I do that, let me offer my condolences again to that little boy's family, especially his grandfather, who had to witness that happening. Like, I know that had to be very traumatizing for him, but RIP to that little boy. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments. Hit the subscribe button if you are new. Click that bell twice to be notified if the bell for whatever reason is not working. I do upload my videos in a Premiere style format, which means you can click the notification button on the thumbnail to be notified whenever I upload a new video or go live. The links will be down in the description. I'll talk to you in the next one.